Minecraft has been just an incredible thing over the last few years. When you very first sat down and conceptualized the idea and did the first bits of work in it, where did you think it would go realistically at that time?
I was hoping to spend half a year to a year on it and maybe make enough money to start a new game. That was kind of my semi-realistic dream for it.
Minecraft is the best-selling video game of all time, and because of that, people think there's nothing new to learn about it. It's easy to think that everything there is to know about Minecraft has been documented, discovered, and done to death. A lot of people think Minecraft is essentially a solved game, that there's nothing more to discover or think about. However, I beg to differ. In my last video, I discussed how Dwarf Fortress heavily inspired Minecraft's core ideas of mining and building. But in researching the history of Minecraft's development, I uncovered a rabbit hole of information. There's a plethora of clues, quotes, and references that all allude to a hidden piece of Minecraft's development, one that's gone completely unacknowledged by the general public. Many people know about the games that heavily inspired Notch during Minecraft's development. Titles like Infiniminer, Dwarf Fortress, and Dungeon Keeper were all key influences on the game's design, so much so that many accused Minecraft of plagiarism during its initial success in the early 2010s. These games all resemble Minecraft in either their art style or their gameplay. It's easy to tell at a glance how much each of these titles inspired Minecraft. However, there's another video game that influenced Minecraft just as much as all of these have, yet it never gets brought up when discussing Notch's key inspirations during the game's development. But that's where I come in. I'm going to bring light to a game that would prove crucial to Minecraft's design and creation, a game that was absolutely critical to ensuring Minecraft stood the test of time, and a game that still influences Minecraft to this very day. Through interviews, records, and the mechanics of Minecraft itself, I'm going to prove that Valve's beloved class-based shooter Team Fortress 2 became one of Minecraft's most influential inspirations. This rabbit hole goes deep, so bear with me as I go through a bit of history. Let's start in 2007, 2 years before Minecraft's initial alpha release. On October 10th, 2007, Team Fortress 2 would be released to widespread success. The impact of the game was immediately felt. There was never before a team-based shooter that focused so heavily on freedom and player choice. Players weren't punished for playing off the core objective, allowing for teams to win matches through independent thought, rather than team coordination alone. The game was groundbreaking for the time, and as with all pieces of art, Team Fortress 2's design was an amalgamation of many other influences and inspirations. The game's predecessor, Team Fortress Classic, was a mod of Quake, with many of TF2's mechanics being taken directly from the notorious arena shooter. Many of TF2's classes also have designs that are heavily based on the gameplay styles of other notable genres, such as Engineer being based off the tower defense genre, and Spy taking cues from various stealth games. TF2 leaned heavily on combining a lot of different influences to create something truly original. The game's uniqueness inspired dozens of developers to take some of the ideas Valve had put forth and incorporate them into their own games. One of these developers was a young computer science graduate by the name of Zach Barth. He was a fledgling game developer who was working on a competitive team-based shooter called Infiniminer. In an interview with Rock Paper Shotgun, Barth stated,
"Infiniminer is a combination of Infinifrag, Team Fortress 2, and Motherlode. I wanted to make a competitive mining game, and this was it."
In theme with our story, Zach Barth saw his game as a mix of many other inspirations, including Team Fortress 2. The influence TF2 has over Infiniminer is obvious from the gameplay. The game is, of course, a team-based class shooter, with each player being able to choose from 4 unique classes. 2 of these options were the Engineer and the Sapper, which share the same roles as the Engineer and Spy from Team Fortress 2. The 2 teams fighting each other are also represented by red and blue. However, these are surface-level comparisons. If we look deeper into the game design of Infiniminer, it's obvious that there's a clear focus on freedom and player choice that the game relies on to be engaging. The control each player has over the characters reflected in their ability to manipulate the environment, to be able to break and build whatever they want in order to succeed. This leads to each match of Infiniminer feeling diverse and dynamic, with a wide variety of potential strategies at each team's disposal. This focus on dynamic and independent gameplay is directly interpolated from Team Fortress 2 and its design philosophy. In short, Infiniminer's game design is heavily inspired by Team Fortress 2, specifically in its focus on freedom and player choice. And these 2 concepts were about to be taken to their absolute extreme by one Marcus Notch person. I'm sure that some of the people watching this are seeing all the history I'm pointing out and probably thinking, Okay, sure, there's this huge amount of history that leads from Team Fortress 2 to Minecraft, but that doesn't even mean anything. The two games are completely different and have nothing to do with each other. This is a total stretch. To the people who are thinking that, I get it. On the surface, putting these two games next to each other, it wouldn't seem like these games could have anything to do with one another. And yet, inspiration of this nature happens all the time. Mega Man X looks nothing like Hollow Knight, but if you look at the game design, you can see where Hollow Knight took inspiration from the Mega Man X series. The developers of Fortnite have admitted to being directly inspired by Minecraft, and their game isn't even in the same genre. Yet if you look at Fortnite's building system and the way it incentivizes player creativity, you could see how one idea led to the other. Inspiration isn't about transplanting a one-to-one copy of something into something else. Inspiration is when an artist takes something they know and adapts it into their work. That adaptation may be blatantly obvious, or it may be a little bit more hidden. Not all inspiration is immediately apparent. Sometimes you have to dig for it. So when I tell you that Notch was a massive Team Fortress 2 fan, that should probably say something about what he valued as a developer. Notch's history with TF2 is a well-documented phenomenon. In the years before and after Minecraft's full 1.0 release, Notch would regularly stream TF2 live on Twitch. He would also talk about TF2 pretty regularly on his Twitter and his Tumblr. Notch loved TF2 so much that he even messed around with making a full-on top-down demake of TF2, an entirely fan-made reconstruction of the game built as a passion project. Of course, this was never released, but it's an indication of how much an impact Valve's class-based shooter had on the young developer. Notch was already a huge fan of TF2 when he was making Minecraft, but that's not the only way that the game affected his development. As mentioned before, Infiniminer also took heavy influence from TF2, and Infiniminer was the game that, according to most accounts from Notch himself, spurred him into making Minecraft the game that it is today.
But then I found Infiniminer. My god, that was the game I wanted to do.
Notch took the ideas of freedom and player choice that Team Fortress 2 and Infiniminer utilized and turned them into their own game. In Notch's own words, a do-anything game. Minecraft. I can understand if you're still skeptical. It's not like there's a magical unicorn interview out there where Notch directly says that he was inspired by Team Fortress 2. However, there also isn't an interview where George Lucas admits to being influenced by Joseph Campbell, even though he obviously was. There isn't a blog post where Eminem admits that his style is heavily based on Pharaoh Monch, but I could definitely do research to figure that out. Here, it's the same way. Even if Notch never said it explicitly, there's an abundance of evidence that exists that basically confirms Team Fortress 2 had a significant impact on Minecraft's development, both through Notch himself and through Infiniminer. But TF2's influence hasn't stopped there. Team Fortress 2 has consistently affected Minecraft's development and its community throughout its lifespan, even as recently as this year. Many of the earliest Minecraft servers utilized minigames heavily based on modes from Team Fortress 2, such as Capture the Flag and King of the Hill. On top of that, these minigames would also frequently feature the class picking system that Team Fortress 2 pioneered. It's likely that a lot of the famous minigames that Minecraft is partially known for, such as Bed Wars and Sky Wars, would be completely different if it weren't for TF2's influence. When it comes to Minecraft's development over the years, things are less clear-cut. Of course, Notch himself would reference TF2 on occasion in Minecraft's early years. Some splash text here, an April Fool's joke there, but never anything in the actual game. That is, until this year. In 2024, two incredibly interesting items were revealed and released into Minecraft for the public to enjoy. The first of these items was the Wind Charge, an item that launches the player very high into the air upon use. The second item was the Mace, a weapon that does insanely high damage if the player strikes an enemy while falling from a great height. When these items were released, players immediately realized what the developers had done. They had implemented rocket jumping and market gardening into Minecraft, two mechanics whose identities were directly tied to Team Fortress 2. Many artists admit to their influences, wearing them on their sleeves and talking their praises up in the press. On the other hand, many artists refuse to acknowledge any inspiration. These people often insist, falsely, that the ideas they've come up with are entirely and utterly original. These are the two most common kinds of relationships that artists tend to have with the ones they take their likeness from. However, The best and most cathartic relationship an artist can have with their inspirations is one of reverence and respect. It's through this avenue that you get work like Tyler the Creator's Igor or Kobe Bryant's style of basketball, pieces of art that are clearly influenced by great artists that came before, and yet carry their own sense of identity and understanding in spite of that. Minecraft in 2024 has come full circle. Mojang is paying homage to one of its biggest influences, adding items that directly incorporate the mechanics of TF2 into their game, while maintaining the look, feel, and gameplay style of Minecraft itself. The response to this addition has been overwhelmingly positive. The Wind Charge especially has been hailed as one of the best additions to Minecraft in years, an item that greatly improves the freedom of gameplay, allowing for more diversity in how each player interacts with the environment. It just goes to show that a mechanic doesn't always need to be new for it to be good.